there, CEOs. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Barter Blacks Today in Black History podcast, where we are featuring Black entrepreneurs that you need to know. Today, I am here with Greg Etienne, who is the owner of Bottled, which is a ready to drink cocktail company that provides unique and delicious cocktails for every occasion. Greg, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, excited to, be featured. So thank you for having me on.
I appreciate it. So we're going to just jump right on in. When and how did you come up with Bottled?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, my partner at the time, during the pandemic, honestly, the story is really starts as a love story.
Mm-hmm.
We met, my boyfriend and I met in March of 2020. We actually met via Tinder because I super liked him. We were together for a while. And so during the pandemic, me and my friends, we wanted to get together. So we were connecting at Navy Yard, which is sort of like a waterfront park area in the DC area for those that don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was the one making the drinks at the picnics, and they were definitely raving about it. Additionally, there was an organization called Happy that's in the DC area as well. And they were doing virtual bar, like sort of like sessions and events. And so I joined one of their Cinco de Mayo ones, which required you to get certain ingredients. So at that time, that's when I started to grow my bar. So by growing my bar, I was the one bringing the drinks to our picnics at Navy Yard. And so my friends were raving about it. So eventually I was like, there's a way to monetize on this. And so the first decision was to actually do like a booze truck. And then, Stefan and I, we were kind of having this conversation because like my entrepreneurial spirit just really started to grow rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
So as we began to sort of chat about it, it really evolved into what it is now, which is bottled. So really, like mid-December, we started having that conversation, and within 2 weeks, we were able to materialize it. So I've been the one that was responsible for really like making the cocktails and coming up with the recipes for all of our drinks. And he was the one that was responsible for the creative side, naming the cocktails, and really the logo as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
thank you.
Beautiful. I might need to join Tinder. um, but so what were the challenges that you faced in the beginning?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I think like any Black-owned business, definitely access to capital,
Mm-hmm.
business credit, and stuff like that. But honestly, the biggest challenge that we faced was us because we were honestly a young couple.
Yeah.
We weren't together that long before we started to jump into this. We were only like 9 months in, as far as like knowing each other when we started to run the business. And I think um that added an incredible challenge to that dynamic. And so, we're Black, we're gay men, trying to start a business. And so there are so many like nuances to that we were also facing internally, as it pertains to just like relationship. And
Yeah.
so that also impacted the business as well. So the things that were happening with the business was affecting the relationship. Things were
Mm-hmm.
happening with the relationship was, impacting the business. And so I think honestly, that was the biggest challenge. And the thing was, we had completely different visions on what we wanted to see, how we wanted things to go. And that also impacted a lot as well. So we spent a lot of nights really just kind of like disagreeing on a lot of things and really trying to meet in the middle, trying to
Yeah.
compromise, trying to decide on where things should go, what things we should do. And so like every decision, especially like if we didn't see eye to eye, it would take a lot of time.
Right.
One specific example is like the bags that we currently use.
Okay.
So we were sitting at the table trying to determine like, okay, if we sell these bottles of cocktails, how do we actually present them to the customer? Do we put them in like a container? Do we put them in a bag? And we spent a whole night going back and forth on how we would do that. He had one idea. I had another idea. Our bottles sort of like have like a sort of look like a milk bottle a little bit. And so
Mm-hmm.
he was thinking more so like using sort of like those old school milk containers that you used to kind of carry around, or
Yeah.
sort of like those carriers that you get from like a fast food restaurant, but sort of elevating that.
Mm-hmm.
And my idea was really like using like some kind of bag in some way. And so we spent the whole night trying to figure that out. And it really like it took a long time. And so eventually like I had a eureka moment because there's a beauty health store that I like to go to. It's also Black owned. It's called
Okay.
Yadane. They have locations in Baltimore, Philly, New York. And so I remembered that I still had one of their bags that they had sent me when I placed an order. And I was like, oh, let me grab this bag. I think that'll be a great idea. So I
Yeah.
grabbed it and I showed it to him. And he was like, actually, that could work. That could actually work. And so we finally, I mean, after several hours of like really going back and forth, like we were able to agree on that. And so that's where like the bags that we use, like that's how that evolved. So now currently we use these muslin cotton bags that are
Mm-hmm.
drawstring, and that's what we use to put our bottles in to give to customers, and people love it. We also put a tag on it with their name, so it's personalized, and people love that as well. And really the concept of the entire business is also to be sustainable. So the bottles that we use are glass so that you can reuse them or you can return them back to us, and if you return them back you can get 15% off your next order. And then the bags can be reusable for anything that you like. I've seen people use them for some of their hair care products,
Yep.
for their mice when they're traveling. They use it as a mouse pad. So like everything that we do is always about being sustainable.
Yeah.
But there are so many examples like that that we've had to go through to make decisions about the business because we were on two different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
you you touch on a good point because when you are growing a business, whether it's strictly just business or business and relationship, you still have to
Yeah,
come together and make these
absolutely.
decisions because everyone is seeing things totally different sometimes, and it
Yeah,
takes time.
absolutely. Yeah.
But I also love that you can return the bottles and get a discount
Yes.
because that's
Yep.
keeping that carbon footprint down. We want to make sure
Absolutely.
that we are saving the planet.
Yep.
So what makes your cocktails special and unique?
So our cocktails are special and unique because one, you can't get them anywhere else. So our cocktails, some of them have sort of like our modifications and variations of some of the classic cocktails, but we
Mm-hmm.
elevate a lot of them and make them in a really different way. Especially because a lot of the syrups that we use we actually make the syrups ourselves. So like our syrups are bottled syrups. They're proprietary recipes that no one else has. So
Okay.
like some of the cocktails that we have that are incredibly unique. So we have red maple, which is really a fan favorite. And so that's our bourbon cocktail, which is made with a
Mm-hmm.
maple cranberry syrup that we make. And that one is really good. Currently, in our current season, we have Basil Hazel, which I'm really excited about because we just partnered with a Black-owned vodka spirit brand that's local to DC called Black Leaf Vodka.
Love
So
it.
Basil Hazel has that. It also has a basil simple syrup that we make as well. And so that basil simple syrup elevates that cocktail, and you really get the freshness from the basil in that. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, Basil Hazel is just a lemon drop. And so the difference that we've done is that we've made that simple syrup a basil simple syrup. Also, we
Mm.
have another cocktail this current season, which is a gin cocktail called Pinky Promise. And so it has an orgeat syrup. And that orgeat syrup is really just almond syrup. And that
Okay.
also gives that cocktail a very robust flavor. So the syrups that we use are the syrups that we make ourselves. And so that's what makes those cocktails so unique. And so we also make variations and modifications to classic cocktails and really just elevating them and changing them because, like, so that you can't get that cocktail anywhere else. You might get a
Right.
variation of it or a modification, but you can't get that bottled cocktail anywhere else.
Right. So who is responsible for coming up with these names?
Yeah.
They are
So the name,
amazing.
yeah. Yeah, the names of the cocktails are great, and Stefan was the one that came up with all of the names of the cocktails, and
I love
he's
them.
definitely, yeah, he was definitely a very creative spirit, and able to come up with good names. There are times where I was like, we would actually go back and forth because like I knew he would like come up with a name. I was like, I'm not really feeling that name. I think it could be better. Like, and then he would just like go back into his
Push them.
bag, and then like and then he would come up with it, and I'm like, that's it right there. That's it right there.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah. That's how those sessions went for sure.
Right, right. And that's the beauty in giving people jobs that they have that strength in too, because
Exactly. Yep.
it's easy for them to do these type of things.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm not a creative spirit at all, and that, at least in that realm, I think
Right.
recently I've noticed that as far as like creating cocktails, that's where my creativity comes in. But when
Okay.
it comes to like visual creation, names and stuff like that, that's definitely not my ministry.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, what challenges are you currently facing right now?
So one of the biggest challenges right now is that Stefan and I are actually no longer together,
Okay.
and so that definitely plays a huge part because he was a huge part of the relationship as well. So that's definitely trying to navigate that relationship has
Mhm.
definitely been difficult. However, one of the biggest challenge, I mean, I'm still facing like capital issues and business credit. So like same issues that other Black businesses are facing. But right
Mhm.
now, one of the biggest issues and challenges that I'm facing is that I don't have a car, and I haven't had a car this entire time. But
Mhm.
it was easier before, of course, because Stefan did. But I don't have a car, and that is one of the challenges that I face like incredibly right now because I rely on Free to Move, which is a car sharing service in the DMV area that
Mhm.
allows you to rent cars by the minute. I use Ubers. I bike around the city to get errands done, to deliver items to customers. I have my own bike that I use to get around. I'm reaching out to friends to get assistance with like getting around. I'm renting cars and stuff like that. So uh I'm not allowing not having a card like be a
Right.
crutch and not allowing me to get to the things that I need to get or complete the things that I do, but it is definitely an inconvenience. It is definitely a waste of time, honestly. I could definitely like save a lot of time if I have my own car.
Mhm.
But that is incredibly the biggest challenge. Like recently, I tried to like rent a Free to Move because I had a gig to do in Baltimore, and for some reason, their app my account was blocked for some reason. So
Mhm.
now I'm like 30 minutes from the time that I need to leave so I can head to
Right.
Baltimore. And this is like on a Thursday around 4 or 5 o'clock. So we know the traffic to Baltimore is going to be crazy. And now
Mhm.
this app is not working. And so I'm like, I have no other way to get there, but I need to get there because one, this is a paid gig where I know I'm going to make some money. And,
Right.
of course, I need to continue to increase sales for the business to make it a viable business. So luckily, I was able to call a friend who was able to assist with helping me get a car so I can get to Baltimore. And luckily, I was able to get there and back, and it was good. But like those are some of the challenges that I face in regards to like not having a car, and it's been really tough.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you shared that because a lot of times we don't like to share our struggles. And in
Yeah, yeah,
entrepreneurship, we're all struggling with something. And
absolutely. Yeah,
hear me say that throughout this podcast, but you'll also
yeah,
hear the entrepreneurs say, I am struggling and I want people to be
yeah,
okay with asking for help. Like
yeah,
this is
absolutely. Yeah. And that has been something that I've been trying to learn, especially now that I'm kind of running, I'm running the business alone.
Mhm.
I've been sort of leaning towards a lot of my friends and asking for help a little bit more. I have been
Yeah.
asking friends for rides because one, I am trying to lower costs, and so every time I rent a car, every time I do that, that's
Mhm.
increasing my expenses. So I have been a little bit better with asking for help. Also, like, so I do a lot of my like deliveries on my bike. And
Okay.
like I also feel a little self-conscious about that. And so a lot of times, like if I'm gonna go deliver to someone's house, I will park my bike like a block away and then walk because I don't like I'm subconscious about them seeing me delivering to their house in a bike and
Yeah.
like what their perception is. And I know that like, oh wow, he's like delivering this like on his bike. Wow, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? But like just internally for me, it's a challenge. But also it's a little rewarding as well because several years ago when I was also like trying to make ends meet,
Mm-hmm.
I was actually doing Uber Eats and DoorDash, and I was
Mm-hmm.
doing that on a bike, you know. And
Yeah.
so now I'm actually delivering orders on a bike for my own business to
Yeah.
grow my own business. And so that's also, you know, slightly rewarding, but I
Yeah.
still have some sort of like that self-consciousness that I think about when I like deliver orders on a bike because I'm like, what are people gonna think if I'm rolling up on my bike to deliver their order?
Mm-hmm. And just think
Yeah,
about, when if anyone is listening to this or if you're talking to the younger generation, this is
yeah,
something that tells them if you really want it, you have to go after it no matter what you need,
absolutely,
no matter what you need
absolutely,
to
yeah,
do. Um,
yeah,
Entrepreneurship and especially Black entrepreneurship is not meant to be done alone. So
absolutely, yeah,
definitely
right,
have to ask for help, and we definitely
yeah.
have to realize that we're all going through it.
And I don't believe in allowing obstacles to deter you from what you need to do. And
Yeah.
honestly, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as an executive, the number one quality and the number one skill that you need is figure it outness.
Yeah.
Like if you can't figure it out, there you can't be there because that is the most important skill that you need to
Yeah.
figure it out. If someone blocks you this way, you find another way to get around it. If someone blocks you that way, you just keep finding another way and
Mhm.
figure it out. Yep.
Yeah, I can't think of his last name, but I was in a conference and his first name is Nick, and he said, "It's not. We're not." What did he? How did he say it? He said it something like, "We're not. It's not that it's not enough resources. It's that we're not being resourceful." And I was like,
Mm,
that makes so much sense. And you made me think of that when you said that. Like, it's not the
yeah.
resources. We have to just figure it out. And that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I created Barter Black. So, where do
Yeah.
you see the company going from here?
Oh my gosh. Um, I think when I think about that, my mind goes like wild and crazy. And so, because I see it going in so many different directions. And I think what's incredibly important is really sort of like allowing the customers to speak and
Okay.
allowing the customers to shape how it goes. I think in the last 2 years, I've been sort of like incredibly ingrained in just like the operations of the business and making sure that it's a viable business, that people actually like the product. And I can, you know, confidently say, at least within the last 2 years, people are incredibly excited about bottled. They love the cocktail, they love how it tastes. And that's just a really great feeling. And so I think moving forward, especially as we move into, you know, 2023 and beyond, I really
Mm-hmm.
want to start being more intentional about business development, business strategy, and planning, and
Mm-hmm.
determining, okay, what does the business look like? Does
Yeah.
it look like retail, being in stores? You know what I'm saying? Does it look like being in a concession stand at like stadiums or, you
Yeah.
know, event spaces and stuff like that? And I think those are some of the things that are incredibly important to think about, that are incredible, which accomplishments that would be great, especially
Mm-hmm.
for a Black gay owned business to be in some of those spaces, because
Yeah.
the alcohol beverage industry is really, really fierce and challenging industry to get into, because a lot of the big name brands, they really kind of like choke some of those accesses to things, because they have sponsorships in so many places. And if you have that sponsorship,
Yeah.
there's no way that we could afford any of those prices for sponsorship. So as
Yeah.
long as those alcohol brands are sponsoring certain events or sponsoring certain locations, you can't get in because it's a conflict of interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the type of things that I'm looking towards, is like looking to get maybe into stores, you know, manufacturing in a larger scale, and possibly doing like concession stands at stadiums and things like that,
Okay.
so that people can, you know, enjoy the cocktails, where they are. And so that's really what we want to do. We create bar quality cocktails so you can bring the bar to where you are. Because you really can't get, it's really hard at least to find a ready to drink cocktail that has the same quality as our cocktails. And that's reality. And one of our focuses is when people go to an event, we want them to spend more time experiencing that event, enjoying that event. We don't want them to spend too much time at the bar trying to get a drink. And so that's why our cocktails are made the way they are made, so that you don't have to wait for the cocktail to be made. It's ready to drink. We pour it over ice for you. We garnish it and make it pretty, and then you can go along your way and enjoy the rest of your evening.
I don't know about y'all, but that sounds delicious. So tell everyone where they can purchase the cocktails.
Yes. So cocktails can be purchased on our website at www.botld.co. So that's www.bottled.co. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at _bottled. That's _BOTLD. And on Facebook, you can find us at Bottled Up. That's at BOTLD UP. If you sign up for our mailing list or you follow us on our socials, you can also see all of the events that we'll be at throughout the city and the DMV, and also in other places around the country as well. So make sure you go ahead and follow us. Check out our mailing list so you can see where we'll be. We might be in a city near you so you can try our cocktails. Our current offerings are a vodka cocktail, basil hazel. Then we have oatmeal cookie, which is an Irish cream cocktail. Then we have a gin cocktail, Pinky Promise. And then we also have our margarita tequila cocktail, which is the party drink. And that is also the most popular cocktail right now. It's called Purple Rain, and it has a blackberry liqueur. And throughout the year, as we launch new seasons, we'll have more cocktails available for you as well.
Okay, now say it now. And let me say one thing. I'm assuming it's you. I don't know who it is, but the text messages be on point.
Yeah, I think what's so important is marketing and reaching out. And for a while, I thought maybe it was a little too intrusive. Maybe people didn't like them. Now, people have been unsubscribing, and like people might like emails better. People might like the text messages better. People might not like either one of them. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. You know what I'm saying? And so we'll reach out to the people that want to receive that information.
Yeah.
But those messages have been very, impactful. Like people show up to our events because they received that text message. They'd be like, yep, I got your text message. Here I am, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So the text messages actually work. People are actually reading them. That's actually doing something. And I appreciate that a lot.
The text messages are on point. Every time I see one, I be like, look at this. I am so happy for you. So two things before you go. Give us some insight on what it was like to pitch to Pharrell Williams.
Oh my
gosh.
And win. Yeah. So what you're talking about is when we ran into each other at the pull up and picture competition in June of last year, 2022, at the Something in Water Festival. And so they allowed Black and Latinx businesses to come pitch their business to win some money. And so when we got there, we ran into you there, and we were really excited to see that you were there because we had engaged and interacted with you before.
Right.
And we're happy that we got there early enough because a lot of people came and a lot of people didn't get a chance to pitch their business. But we were lucky enough to pitch our business, and I think we made several rounds together. So I think we were like 7th in line to actually pitch.
Yeah,
and
we weren't far.
And they really enjoyed our pitch. I think our energy was really good. But I think other thing that really helped us was that we had a tangible product that people can also taste as well. So that was also intentional for us, that we wanted to bring our product there, but we also wanted to give them the opportunity to taste it if they wanted. So that's why we brought our sample swigs bottles there, so that we can put it in front of them. They can see what it looks like. And if they wanted to taste it, they could. So we went through those rounds and kept going through, the different rounds. And so that last round with Pharrell was was unexpected because he wasn't expected
Very.
to be there. And so when he walked in, it was like, all right, y'all, get in line, get in line. You can post, you can go ahead and pitch in front of Pharrell for like 20 seconds. We were like, what? Pharrell is like one of the biggest names in music. To be there to be able to pitch to him was like incredibly, that was an incredible moment for us. And then also to just win the largest, to win the grand
A
prize for them,
total
and then to
thing.
have it, yeah, to have it presented by him and to have him speak about the importance of, celebrating Black owned businesses was just incredibly powerful for us. And so with that money, whew,
The stress.
okay,
Right?
so I have to tell you, winning that grand prize considerably changed the trajectory of our business entirely. So we used that money to move operations of Bottled from my apartment into a shared kitchen space.
Oh,
So
wow.
we moved to Mess Hall, which is in Edgewood. And
Okay.
once we moved to Mess Hall, we were able to improve productivity, improve um, efficiency, and
Mm-hmm.
also they were able to connect us with some amazing people. So they connected us with Hurech House, which is a very historic museum in the DuPont Circle area, and so they
Okay.
were our first wholesale customer. And so
That's nice.
that was incredibly impactful. And then they connected us with the gentlemen who are responsible for Bike Club, which is sort of like a food and beverage experience
Mm-hmm.
that runs every 2 weeks at Eaton House on K Street downtown. So they connected with me with them, and that has now been Bottled's largest collaboration to date. And so now we're collaborating and we're working together. And it's because of Mess Hall. It's because we were able to use that money to get into Mess Hall to get there.
Yeah.
Bottled has had so many success and accomplishments
Yeah.
since we got that money, since we moved into a space. But additionally, moving into that space, it also legitimized our business to be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, some people, oh, you operating out of your home? Okay. Now the thing is, a lot of businesses start in people's homes, in people's kitchens, in people's
Absolutely.
basements, and people's garages. And so people look like, oh, you're doing this in your kitchen? And then like a lot of times now that a mess hall, oh, so where do you make these in your kitchen? I was like, no, I actually do this in Mess Hall. I do this in a shared kitchen space. And then I tell them the story, and they're just like so inspired. They're so,
Yeah.
they love that story. And
Yeah.
honestly, that money went a long way. And honestly, for an entrepreneur, $10,000 really isn't that much money for a business that's trying
Yeah.
to grow. That's really not a whole lot of money. But that money right there, that
Yeah.
$10,000 was a lot of money because it generated a lot of money.
Right.
It helped us to get into
Right.
a space. It helped us to connect with other people. It connect us to to perform at a larger rate. And it was the best thing that could have happened for Bottled, for
I
sure.
love it. And I was super
Yeah.
happy to be there to
Thank you.
witness it
Yes.
with you all.
It was good to have you there. So like even though we were all there competing for the same lump of change, it didn't feel like everyone was like competing with each other.
No.
Everyone was like there to support each other. We were rooting each other on. We were celebrating each other. It was such a great feeling because we weren't competing. We were just encouraging each other. We were like,
Yeah.
because if you win,
I'll
win.
win.
If I win, you win. Like we're all winning because there's something for all of us. And I made so many connections that day as well. And so like the energy there was so amazing, the love was so amazing. And then we won, and then when we won, there are so many things that happened. And so even till this day, like if I go to an event and I was like, oh, you guys won the that. And I was like, yeah, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I like you remember you were there. Like that means so much for people that like to to really kind of like bring that memory up again and talk about it
Yeah.
and say, like, we remember you. We started following you and we enjoyed your story and stuff like that because the story of Bottled is amazing, and so it's unfortunate that it has turned to where it is right now, that it's just me and Stephan is no longer there. but the story of Bottled is incredibly
Yeah.
amazing. It really is.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I love you both.
Thank you.
I'm proud to say I know you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Uh,
you.
so before we go, we know we didn't already establish entrepreneurship is real. It's hot out here in these streets. So
Yes.
what
Yes.
do you need in your business right now that someone can help you with that you'll be willing to barter with or for?
Oh my gosh. I will give cocktails to anybody who can help me with social media and accounting. Like for
Okay.
real. Yep. If you want cocktails, you need cocktails for your business, for your event, and you're willing to do social media and accounting, holla at a brother for sure.
Shoot your shot in the comments.
Yes.
You heard it
Absolutely. Come through.
here. You heard it here. So all of Greg's information is going to be in the show notes in the comments. If you are great, you're an expert at accounting or social media, definitely shoot your shot in the comments. We definitely want to connect people with this
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
But
Yes.
thank you so much, Greg, for coming on with me. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, depending on where you're listening and watching from. I really appreciate it. Catch me here tomorrow, again, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I will be here with another amazing entrepreneur that you need to know. Thank you again, Greg.
Thank you so much. I just want to say one last thing, Nicole.
Mhm.
Thank you for so much for having this. Thank you so much for highlighting Black businesses. And for everyone else out there, Black History Month is not the only month that you need to support Black businesses. Black businesses need to be supported 365. And when people say support Black businesses, doesn't mean giving them money. That doesn't
Right.
mean giving them their products. Honestly, a comment on social media goes a long way.
Mhm.
If you share a post, that goes a long way. And that doesn't mean you need to share every post, but the ones that stick to you, that stand out to you, share that post. Put it
Yeah,
on your story. Put your friends on. That's how you can support Black businesses. Thank you so
I
much for having me and
love
have a
it.
great day.
I love it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.